Hello, this is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Welcome to my play of the classic game Alone in the Dark. Welcome back, everybody. This is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. This is the next episode of my Let's Break of Alone in the Dark. I think we're up to, I want to say 4 right now. Last time we made headway in the first floor, and I think we are set to maybe beating the game in this episode or definitely next. But let's get into it. Alright, before we go down this mysterious way, I have some things I need to get done over here. Oh! Come on, Edward. Alright, first we have a few more things to look at. Let me just see what we have. So I'll have to find use for that key. I know what we're going to use that for. There's our sword. Okay. So let's look at the books that we found so you can enjoy some more lore.
Memories by Alistair Boleskine. Printed in London, A. Machin, editor, 1833.
It was during a conversation with G that one first heard of the New England fishing village of I. The area was apparently the ideal place from which to witness unusual phenomena in space. The quality of the air, along with the conjunction of several favorable factors, made one impatient to get started. Having gleaned what information one could from the British Museum, one set off. One's work on space and comets in particular had met with a warm response, and one thought...
I think we saw this
Editor's
already.
note. Lord Boleskine's memoirs end at this point.
Oh, no, is it?
One's work on space and comets in particular had met with a warm response, and one thought it judicious to include several original sketches of the phenomenon. Sketches which one felt were sure to arouse a great deal of keen interest in the scientific circles of 1834. One refers naturally to the passage of Halley's comet.
Editor's note. Lord Boleskine's memoirs end at this point. Who knows what extraordinary contributions he might still have made had he not succumbed during his visit to New England to dementia, followed by an early death in St. Andrew's Hospital.
We won't be hearing from him anymore. Alright, we don't need this book anymore. And let's read this one.
The Tale of Captain J.W. Norton of the Army of the Union.
1862. The South was in collapse. Louisiana was open to us. I had each day to requisition victuals for our troops, and was aided in this endeavor by a score of brave men. Rebels were not yet ready to lay down their arms. The region was far from safe. I headed further and further west, and questioned many freed slaves. From them, I learned of a plantation on the coast. Its name was Derceto. We received a less than hearty welcome. Only Pickford, the owner, behaved in a friendly manner. While my men counted cattle and grain reserves, I learned what I could from him. Man was most unusual and possessed an extraordinarily cultured mind. At nightfall, I gave orders for the men to bivouac at Derceto. Pickford invited my second-in-command, Lieutenant Patterson, and myself to dine, and our host proved a most entertaining conversationalist. While coffee was being served, Patterson went to inspect the men's camp. The cigar Pickford offered me was so acrid that my head began to spin. I remembered campfire tales of fellow officers trapped by devilish Confederate tricks. My mind floated in a foul and dense fog, from which emerged the enlarged and deformed face of Pickford. He grinned at me. Patterson's return chased off the nightmare. I heard shouts and firing from outside and found the strength to take out my revolver. I fired 3 shots. Pickford fell to the floor. Patterson then helped me out of the burning house. The air was filled with smoke. We resembled a company in disorderly retreat. I saw slaves leaping into the flames of that inferno. They were trying to save Pickford's life.
So I wonder if that was the same evil cigar we put out last time. Alright, so I think down there is the end of the game, but I know there's still a few things left for us to go for here. First, I don't need this. Went over there. Does this key fit here? No. This should be the dining room. No, we don't need that. Now, this door should still be locked. There we go. Now we'll need to go through the shortcut, or I should say the long way, here. I don't want to deal with those spiders. Now we know that record they don't like. Can't open this door. Okay, time to save the game. And we're going to use the second record. Let's try this one. Oh. The dance of death. We need to grab that mysterious item. Can't let them touch us though. Nope. Almost. Again, the camera can make this very tricky. Not to mention that damn run. Alright, we can leave them be. I think that was a sound of them all dying. Does this key work here? No. Damn you, running animation. Yep, as you can see, they have all been killed. Now, we can just take this so we can stop hearing the music. Or not. I think we'll have to listen to this whole song. But we won't need this anymore. So, to free up the space, take that. And we won't need this other record either. Just have to let the music play out. Now we have to deal with the vagabond in the library, which is on floor 2. And I know we still have the basement there. Alright. I'm going to turn the music off, just so we can get back to talking. So, we need the right weapon to deal with that guy. So here's what we have to do. It's a little bit annoying, but we're going to have to take the false book. Come on. Hey. Did he hit me? I wonder if I can put this down. Again, it's kind of annoying, this part. Okay, there we go. Now that there is light, I can see. And also, it means I can actually search. What we need to do, first get away from this guy. We can search the library. Do we push on this? Says he can be hurt by steel. I don't think this is the right weapon, though. Die. One of these books is actually a trap, too. Thank God that it's still lighting up. So, let's see what happens.
Unfinished chapter of Terra Incognita by Jacob van Ostade. A hitherto unpublished fragment of the manuscript unearthed following indications furnished in the Vatican Library's Expurgatory Index.
In those icy and unwelcoming lands, the rites of wizards and healers are deeply rooted in ancient legend. Mysterious and cruel beings are thought to have ruled over the Arctic plains in times past. A cursed city, enclosed by massive walls, is believed to stand to this day. It contains fabulous treasures and is inhabited by the degenerate descendants of those who instilled centuries of terror in the hearts of the people. These people, naturally placid, are seized with rage and horror at the very mention of the prisoners of the ice. Were these dreadful captives to be freed from their frozen cells, they would reap a horrifying tribute of human flesh. These blood-curdling beings may be invoked by certain ritual words. They can even be controlled, albeit with the greatest of difficulty. I admit to being impressed by these tales, repeated to me on many occasions and in a number of different places during my travels in the region. I have also seen troubling cult objects, sculpted in a material unknown to me. Another remarkable fact is that local Eskimos experience great distaste in pronouncing certain words, and invariably avoid saying them. Here is a living example of the power that words contain. As it is said in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word.
All right. Problem is I'm trying to fit this false book in, but it's kind of tricky, I believe, to... Oh. And this guy's just being a pain. Important. This is where that run is really starting to get to me. Another book. One of these books is actually a trap. I wonder if I can turn this lamp on now. Let's try reading this book.
The Sons of the Sun and of the Shadows. Lieutenant Lope de Vega's account of his astounding travels to the land of the Aztecs.
Holy Christ! Cried Captain Cortez, astonished by the strange rite we beheld. We found the savages half naked. They were throwing balls of silver and gold at each other. They laughed as if demented, clearly maddened by some heathen drug. And yet, should one of them fail to catch the ball thrown in his direction, the poor devil was seized and dragged off to be sacrificed in their temple. As we discovered, this frightful game was a ritual most holy to them, and symbolized the movement of the heavenly bodies. The dropping of a ball foretold a catastrophe. That is what the Aztecs believed in their godless ignorance. Their countless deities could only be appeased through endless human sacrifices. The victim's heart, which was still beating, lay in the hand of the murderous priest. The interior of the temple was surprisingly cool. The weight of our armor, our exhaustion, even the burden of our suffering, they were all banished by a sense of awe that the crudely magnificent altar instilled. In the tomb-like silence, a deep voice chanted an incantation. The majestic statue of the water goddess, Chalchihuitlicue, seemed to throb with vitality. This massive stone, draped in a golden cloak and studded with precious stones, was coming to life before our very eyes. Horror of horrors! The granite eyes of the statue, empty of life only moments before, were now injected with blood. We staggered back in amazement. Dom Jose was taken by a fit of convulsions. He tried to raise up his crucifix, as if to ward off an attack by demons. The heathen priest laughed cruelly. The statue's mouth cracked open in a deathly grin, bearing teeth sharpened to dagger points. Captain Cortez cried, "Attack!" But it was no use. We were glued to the spot. First, we were unable to move. Our armor seemed to be bolted to the temple floor. Our legs weakened, and we collapsed in a thunder of steel. Only Cortez had the presence of mind to unsheath his dagger. He hurled it at the cackling priest. 4 inches of the finest Toledo steel buried itself in the heathen's face. His blood spurted, splashing the now lifeless idol. We picked ourselves up with difficulty. Never will I forget that terrible moment. My companions, naturally enough, told tales of devilish enchantments cast upon our armor. Whatever the truth of that, I could not deny that the supreme god of the 4th universe had treated us as mere playthings. I am convinced that a terrible energy is yet contained within that heathen statue. A power strong enough to change a proud conquistador into a helpless puppet. Drawing of Chalchihuitlicue by Dom Jose de la Sierra, done before the destruction of the Aztec temple of Tenochtitlan.
So that was the idol that we found I use on the statue. I'm just not sure how that really worked. Like, why did that work on that night? I think this is the book that's actually going to kill me.
Fragments of the Book of Abdul.
In the antique city of dead Relaya, Cthulhu dreams and waits. In the pit of time, the unspeakable lies in wait. That is not dead which can eternal lie. Relaya, your blocks of stone seal the ritual that gives birth to fear. Cthulhu Fatang! Cthulhu Fatang! Ayah! Ayah! Let he who knows how to invoke the stones act. It is time. Let the shadow of Cthulhu darken the sky. May the servitor of the black goat of the woods with 1,000 youngs sound his flute in honor of the unspeakable. Cthulhu Fatang! Cthulhu Fatang! Ayah! Ayah! May he who may not be named cast his withering gaze upon the unbeliever. For he is the door, the key, and the guardian of the door, and holds you now in his immense power.
Alright, I think that killed us. Yep. Ooh. Whoa. Well, that just happened. Every time we read that book, it basically messes with us. Get away from me, buddy. You can just get that book in the shelf, I'll be good. Unless it has to go somewhere else. That's the only thing I can think of. One more book to read. Let's see what happens.
If Rocks Could Talk, or The Story of a Louisiana Plantation, by the Marquise de Chamfray.
After the criminal selling off of Florida by the foul usurper, my father elected to remain in this inhospitable land, where we were free at least to express our royalist feelings, and hope our country would come to its senses. In 1818, a certain Pickford bought up Ledoux's land, after the poor fellow had ruined himself in unfortunate speculation. Pickford soon turned out to be the most loathsome human we had ever encountered. He was an adventurer of the worst kind, nouveau riche, and bloated with a grotesque sense of self-importance. First came the incessant army of men with shovels, digging into the mountain of earth that was to fill in the surrounding swamp. The undertaking was quite stupendous. We learned from a slave that the final objective was to connect the existing caves with another one of gigantic proportions. Racked by a mania of persecution, Elia Pickford constantly fired his workers and hired new ones. He did all he could to keep anyone from learning about his plans. My father was amused and said, "The poor fool will end up getting lost in his own cave." The walls went up, and tongues started wagging. Our detestable neighbor had been a sailor, a ruffian grown rich on questionable trade. Distasteful stories were told of him.
Okay.
When the work was finished, Pickford invited us to the opening of his rambling mansion, which he named Derceto. My father asked what the strange name meant. Pickford answered, "Derceto reminds me of Astarte, the fertility goddess. Around here, the name is Shub-Niggurath, I believe." That a name so steeped in evil should be said aloud came as not such a shock to my father, as he himself confided in me some while later. We left immediately.
In June of 1862, Derceto was burned down in unexplained circumstances. It was undoubtedly the deed of some jealous Yankee or another. It was amazing to watch the servants rushing into the flames to try and save their bullet-riddled master. After that terrible night, Derceto fell into ruin. Its blackened walls were soon overgrown, as human-built works always are, by ever-present nature. In 1875, the property was eventually bought by a gentleman whose name was Howard Hartwood. I was sorry that my father, who delighted in fine conversation, was no longer alive to enjoy the company of this new neighbor. Learned and well-versed in history, he had made a particular study of piracy. It was Hartwood who told me that Pickford had commanded a ship that flew the flag of piracy. That explained the scoundrel's great wealth. Hartwood was fascinated by Pickford and undertook a great deal of research in an attempt to find some treasures that he was convinced the pirate had hidden. He went through the ruins inch by inch. He then had the burnt-out house rebuilt exactly as it had been, and refurbished the library that had miraculously escaped the flames on the night of the Great Fire. Hartwood set about studying every volume in that library, and often talked to me of his research. He was a handsome widower. deeply attached to his son Jeremy, who was later to become a professional artist. Artwood worked incessantly, first from the room I offered him, then from his own freshly restored home, which he rebaptized Derceto. I imagine he hoped to enlist the help of the god of good fortune in his treasure hunt. As far as I have ever been able to tell, all his searching came to nothing. There were no lost treasure to be found at Derceto. I learned of Artwood's death while I was in Paris. But that, as they say, is another story.
Alright, I think that's all the books. Now for the big point. Gotta figure out where that false book goes. It's gotta be in one of these holes. This is where early 90s graphics can be a pain to deal with. There's a hole. Right here. No. I wonder what that map was for, too. I may just have to break down and look it up. Well, wait. There we go. Yay. Jeez, that took a very long time. And in fact, just to save myself the health, and plus we'll need to reread all those books again. I think it was like right here. False book. Now we just need to find the item that we need. It's a lot of information, ain't it? Okay, we got a lot of information. We have 3 daggers.
The Book of Yael, Signs of Stone, Eucharistic Rituals of Forbidden Cults. Texts collated by Monsignor Vacher, legate in the Curia of the Vatican.
Numerous devilish cults speak of monstrous creatures called the Old Ones. These supernatural beings are believed to be possessed of powers equivalent to those of the gods of antique religions. Adepts of such cults refer to forbidden literature in order to cause these frightful entities to appear before them. What serious student of folk myths has not come across the names of Cthulhu and Shub-Niggurath? It must be said that these creatures wield tremendous power and are difficult to control once they have been unleashed into the world. Those who serve He who goes in shadows protect themselves with signs of stone, carved into the walls of houses or engraved on various objects. For those misguided servants of evil, the best protection appears to be that afforded by the sign of the most ancient gods, engraved in Manar stone, a heavy material said to be disagreeable to the touch. The sinful practices of those who fall into such errors can only lead to the darkest of despair, and are a mortal danger to the soul. Such monsters as those invoked by these foolhardy individuals are engendered when reason drops its guard. Man is easily tempted into perversion. It is why we must forever remain alert and renounce Satan with each breath we take. His ways are infinite in number.
This seems to be the exposition part of our play. Why, you? See what we got. Still need to figure out which dagger to use. Now this is obviously the kitchen knife. I don't think we're going to be using that one. There's that stone of protection. Three more books to read.
Juan Luis Jorge, De Biblioteca, Reflections on the Power of the Verb in Certain Texts. Archaeos Publications, 1919, Stafford.
Translation does not alter the occult power contained within such forbidden texts. The malevolent energy is in no way diminished. The spell must be cast aloud and clearly, in certain languages or little-known dialects. Maglafar Fathang. The reader will understand that, in the light of these revelations, I would be foolhardy to continue quoting from the text I have before me. If spoken aloud in its entirety, it would surely awaken powerful and malignant forces. I will go further and say that simple reading of some of the more technical passages describing specific practices is in itself a perilous exercise. The ill-prepared reader can easily fall prey to attacks of demented hysteria, not unlike those described in cases of individuals said to be possessed by evil spirits. I recommend the study made by Zempf, Urbain, Grandier, and Loudon, and the reports made by the Reverend Richard Price concerning a number of astonishing, to say the least, exorcisms carried out in a parish near Providence. Given what I have written, we must be grateful to the librarians of the British Museum, who have never allowed consultation of the work of Al-Azif's startling work, the infamous Necronomicon.
There you go, it's finally mentioned in the game.
Copies of that work do exist, in spite of the zeal of book-burning inquisitors. For proof, we need look no further than the British Museum, of course, and the sealed archives of the Miskatonic University in Arkham.
I believe that was mentioned in the Dunwich Horror by H.P. Lovecraft as well, the Necronomicon at Arkham.
Other examples of books whose evil can be unleashed by any thoughtless reader are von Jutz's von unersprechlichen Kulten and the abominable De Vermis Mysteries by Ludwig Prien, whose sordid death should be a lesson to all those tempted by a study of the occult.
Well, there you go, folks. Don't go after those books. Okay, we still have... Here we
The
go.
Sacrificial Dagger, Otto Stern, Lumina Books.
The importance placed on ritual sacrifice is constant in religious cult practice. Propitiating the gods is a theme common to many religions. The Old Testament affords many examples. Primitive polytheistic belief systems integrate sacrifice in their rituals as part of the recurrent process of reaffirmation and, naturally enough, group cohesion. The members of their social and religious community come together in an act of purification and atonement. It would be erroneous to imagine the act of human sacrifice linking priest, offering, and God, C.F. Manzetti, stone cults, as anything less than a vital focusing of the group's faith. The act also ensures the continuing appeasement of the god, but only if practiced by a recognized officiating priest using the appropriate instrument. Studies made concerning primitive religious groups bear witness to the central role of sacrifice in living ritual. My own work in the field of ethnopsychology brought me into contact with a sorcerer living in the region of Arkham. He introduced me to the rite of steel, linked to a ceremony known as adoring the black goat of the woods with 1,000 youngs. The god being adored is known as the vagabond. Here, the dagger's role, which allows the life breath to pass from one dimension to another, is essential. The vagabond is a frightening figure, being able to move where he wants and to kill those who have displeased the goat god, for whom he acts as a go-between. The goat is clearly a fertility god. The priest, having spoken the invocation, must choose the appropriate dagger for the sacrifice. The knife with a sinusoidal blade that must be dipped 7 times, on night when the moon is full, in water that has been distilled 100 times, will be laid aside, since it would send the vagabond back into his own dimension. See illustration. The priest will rather choose the dagger with a curved blade. That is more appropriate for slitting of the lamb's throat. This act transfigures the sorcerer priest and plunges the assembled worshippers into a divine trance.
Alright, so we now know what dagger we should be using. And it looks like it's going to be this one. And hopefully this will be what will kill him. One last book to read.
Ludwig Prien. Nomine invocatoris si non sanctificatus es cave.
I think this may have just killed us.
De vermis mysteriis non absolvo folem legendum fatum et eum versus. Tibi magnum
Don't listen, folks.
denominandum signa stellarum nigrarum et
Oh! Ow. And see, folks, that's why you don't read books. But we now know what we need to finish this guy off once and for all. So let's deal with him, and then I think we will wrap up this episode there. first off, I want to put this down so that we'll pick this up once we've dealt with him. That way I can see where we're going, and we can fight. So the mechanism was right here. That. Leave. Okay. So this was supposedly the dagger. Gotcha. Not so tough now, are you? I'm trying to remember if that thing actually does something bad. But to be on the safe side, we will save. Alright, so the library is officially cleared. I don't think we even need that anymore. Oh yeah, we do. Okay, folks, well, that's going to do it for this play. I hope you enjoyed all the exposition we heard. There's now only 2 areas left in the game. Downstairs, in the cellar, and a mysterious passageway underneath the study. So right here. What could be in here? Well, we'll find out next time. I'm sure that rat will try and kill me, but we will see. So, thanks so much for watching this play of Alone in the Dark. Be sure to share with your friends. And next time we will certainly be going for the end. Once again, I am Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends. It always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GWBycer for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.